My name's Samantha Walder, and I'm a women's health ambassador for the St. Francis Gala. So we got married in December of 2016, and due to being a little bit older, we knew we both wanted to have kids right away. So we started trying to have kids, and by March of that year, we were pregnant with our first son, Eli. So I ended up having him. I was induced at 37. Took a couple days to get him here. And by C-section, he was here at 37 and 2. And 6 or 7 months after he was born, we found out we were expecting again, which is kind of a surprise, but it was fine. But we ended up having an early miscarriage. And then December of that year, we found out we were pregnant again. Everything was going fine until about 34 weeks or 33, 34 weeks. I just started feeling really uncomfortable. I just felt like my stomach was very big. I felt like I was almost maybe even leaking fluid. And I had called to report it to the doctor's office, but I didn't really feel like I was being heard. They set up an ultrasound for the next week when my doctor would be back in town, and an appointment at that time. And then within 24 to 48 hours of me calling, something just didn't feel right as a mom. In the morning on a Friday, and so by Saturday morning at 5:04 in the morning, then our second son, Ty, was born. When he came out, I could tell something wasn't quite right. They worked on him for a while in the room, and I could just kind of tell at that point that something wasn't going right, and then they rushed him out. He ended up passing away about an hour later after they worked on him. They called Children's in, and whenever everyone had came in and talked to us afterwards, Children said they did everything they could, and that he just didn't make it. Well, why? You do everything you think to your best ability as a mom that's pregnant, and things still just don't turn out the way you want them to. And then about 6 months after he had passed away, I was having really bad pain in like my lower abdomen, and they actually said, they're like, well, no, you're pregnant. And I was like, what? So I had to call my husband and tell him, I was like, well, it turns out that I'm pregnant, but don't get excited because it ended up being an ectopic pregnancy. So then I ended up having to go into surgery that night to have my fallopian tube removed. And, a fallopian tube, I'm like, gosh dang it, like now it's going to be even harder to get pregnant, and maybe it won't even happen for us again. And in December, it took until December and took some medication and some help for us to be able to get pregnant with our daughter, Reese, that was born in August of 2021. So it was a good clip. So, it was a year and a few months after Ty passed away before we ever really got pregnant. You know what I mean? We're able to be happy about the possibility of having another baby. She was, she's fiery. There's something about her. She's something else. So we tried for a year after we had Reese, and, we got to a year and we were just to the point where we had 2 healthy kids at home. We knew how grateful to be for that. And so we were like, you know what? It's fine. We're done. And about 3 months after that, here we are. And it happened on its own. So we will be having another little girl in a couple weeks. This will be the first time I've delivered in Maryville, yes. I just think that having someone else who's been through what you've been through, or just taking the time to listen or sit and talk to them, and just knowing that they're not alone is a big deal. And knowing that, like, the next time they come in for an appointment, remembering who that person is and what they've been through. I think it's very hard sometimes for people that lose babies, because so often as human beings, like, we forget things unless they like directly impact us. Like what I had said before with Ty, I just felt like something was wrong at the end. And I feel like so often with pregnancy, everything is just kind of repetitive. And I feel like maybe in bigger areas, because there are so many people, that whenever there is kind of a complaint, it's like, okay, well, in that situation, my doctor just happened to be out of the office. So it was like, then I got pushed to the on-call person. Well, they were busy. So it was like, we'll have you come in Monday. And that was on a Wednesday and Thursday that I had called. And then on Friday morning is when my water broke. And I feel like our small setting and the team that we work with, we do so well at making people feel heard. And even if it's the smallest question, I've never heard Dr. Dodson say anything less than have him come in, I can at least talk to him. You know, we'll check it out, we'll do some labs, we'll do this, we'll do that. Like, everything is, you know, as much as we can within our ability. There are some things, you know, like when you're very newly pregnant, like other than labs, there are only so many things you can do. But especially at that point in my pregnancy, I feel like there was more that could have been done. And I feel like she does a very good job, and the nurses and everything in our office do a very good job of hearing what our patients have to say. And I think that is one thing too that made me, again, after the great nurse that I had, like, I wanted to be those eyes and ears for those people that aren't feeling well, or they're like, well, it's probably nothing, but it's like, go ahead and come on in. Like, the worst thing that we're going to find is that it's nothing.